Harvesting your crops completes the cycle you started when you first broadcast seeds into the flats. One of the many benefits of biointensive farming is that only robust seedlings are transplanted into double-dug beds. The combination of healthy soil and healthy plants speeds growth and allows you to harvest your crops in a shorter period of time. Growing biointensive requires different harvesting methods depending on the crops you grow. In addition to the specific harvesting techniques you'll use, you'll also need to consider whether you're harvesting crops for food, compost, or seed. This will determine when you harvest and, in some cases, how you harvest your crops. If you're harvesting a salad crop like lettuce, the time of day you harvest is important.
We're going to harvest this one. Gently pull this aside. We'll come all the way down to the very base of the plant. You can see there's some sap at the base of the plant here. As the day wears on, this sap will find its way into the whole body of the plant, and that's why we cut this in the morning, is to keep this sap as minimal as possible and get a sweeter taste for our lettuce.
Some plants, like tree collards, can be harvested while they are still maturing. Here, Chelsea selects leaves for harvest from plants that will continue to grow in their bed for several more seasons. Potatoes are an essential calorie crop, but a potato bed ready for harvest doesn't look like much, because the actual potato plants will have died back. In this particular bed, the only thing growing above the ground is calendula, a flower used to attract beneficial insects. To get to the potatoes, we'll need to dig.
Looking for our potatoes.
Harvesting potatoes is a two-step process. In the first step, we carefully loosen the soil with the potato fork.
I think I see one. Okay.
Some potatoes will be immediately visible when you first break the soil, but you'll find a lot more in the second step when you pull apart the dirt with your hands. After you've picked out all the potatoes you can find, you should repeat the process.
We've dug our bed once, and we're going to go through again, and you'll find you get 10% more if you dig through your bed a second time. So those potatoes that you may not catch the first time, it's important to get the second time.
Harvesting fava beans accomplishes three different goals. The beans are harvested to eat and to save for next season. And the mature, dry fava plants can be used in your compost pile.
I'm at the fava bean bed, and they're black, which means they're ready to harvest. The great thing about harvesting them when they're black and dry is that as soon as they're harvested, they're ready to store.
If you don't like fava beans, immature fava plants can also be harvested. These provide a good source of nitrogen in the form of green matter for your compost pile. Grains are another crop that requires special tools as well as specific harvesting techniques.
Today we're going to harvest some grains. This is Akusti rye, and this is Dan who's going to show us how to do it.
So we've got our tools here. The kama is a Japanese tool that we use. Very sharp, very nice, kind of expensive, but well worth it. So if you want to take that one. And the sickle, made popular by the communist flag, that also does a very nice job from a different part of the world, but the same tradition. And what we have to do first is, as these grains are growing up, we will put stakes on the corners and somewhere in between and use a string to trellis. The reason this happens is that we grow our grains, in contrast with industrial agriculture, we grow our grains much closer together. What happens when you're growing grains closer together is that they have a tendency to lodge, which is when they the roots get kind of weak, any wind or rainstorm that comes along push them all down at once. Then the straw can rot, the seed can rot, and you end up with a crop failure. So we go to the trouble to string them up like this, in kind of an X pattern with the perimeter also strung. So we're going to take a few minutes here to find the beginning of the string and take it all down with Lisa's help.
Although this densely planted bed produces smaller plants, Dan tells Lisa that's all part of the biointensive method.
So when you plant things very close, each individual plant may be smaller, but when you look at the yield for the entire area, the yield is greater.